What's up, everyone? So I'm going to go ahead and start this off by telling you, if you don't want to watch a long, technical, boring video, then go ahead and move on to a different video. But if you're interested in listening to some technical stuff and watching some boring stuff, then go right ahead and watch this video. What I want to do is I want to talk about how to verify your timing and your inductive delay when you're running the Holly on a mod motor. My car, specifically a 2-valve mod motor. So I got some of the tools laid out right here on top of the cooler, and I'll talk about each one of them and what their significance is. So the first thing you're going to need is a timing light. And it can't be the cheap timing light with no adjustment. It has to be this digital timing light that you can change the timing number on. The next thing that you're going to need is a piston stop. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to find top dead center on the cylinder number 1, so you can mark your balancer. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of pointer. I have this out of a cam degree kit. You can make one out of a clothes hanger or whatever. Just something that will be a reference point for your harmonic balancer or your crankshaft dampener. Another thing you're going to need, because the mod motors and the 2-valve cars are a coil on plug setup, is you're going to need a spark plug wire so that you can hook this timing light up so you can actually get a signal, because there's no way to get a signal from this. So what I did is I went to the local parts store and I bought a replacement spark plug wire. And what you have to do is you have to take this coil on here's a single coil right here apart, take the boot off, and then take this metal coil out from the inside of it, and you can plug this in. So the importance of doing this is, I know a lot of people, especially mod motor guys, have I'll just turn the camera on myself, but a lot of mod motor guys, 2-valve guys that are running, I don't mean 2-valve guys, like mod motor guys in general, that are running like a tune off of the Facebook website, the inductive delay on the custom ignition is set to 1, which is the lowest value. So what a lot of people have had problems with is the computer pulling timing as the RPM rises, and people are wondering why the car's not performing like it should. So what this will do is this will verify that the timing that the engine is at is the same timing that is on your computer. So that's the significance of this. So we'll go through the steps and I'll try to explain as best I can. So the first thing you want to do is you want to attach your pointer to the engine somewhere and get it to where it is as close as you can get it to the harmonic balancer as a reference point. And from here, what we'll do is we will install the piston stop in the number 1 cylinder and find top dead center in relation to the pointer, top dead center on the harmonic balancer in relation to this pointer I have attached to the engine here. So I'll get the piston stop installed and then show you guys what to do. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is remove the spark plug out of the number 1 cylinder. Install the piston stop. Alright, so now that the piston stop is installed, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to rotate the crankshaft clockwise until the number 1 cylinder's piston stops against the piston stop. So you turn the harmonic balancer until you get a little bit of resistance, and you know that the piston is against the piston stop. So what you do now is you to get something to mark the balancer with. I like this little silver pin here because it's metallic and easy to see. So, here, let me see the camera. So, if you look down here, what I'm going to do is it looks like that the harmonic balancer, it stopped right there at the, it looks like 350 through the phone. So what I'll do is I'll mark 350. This is like impossible to do with the camera. It's not 350, it's, just stop it because I can't get them. So I marked the balancer right at 349. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to rotate the crankshaft counterclockwise until the piston stops against the piston stop in that direction. Alright, so the crankshaft stopped, and once again, you look at where, in relation to the pointer, where it stopped at, and I will mark it. I can't tell what it is through the phone, so I'll turn the phone off and mark it and then show you guys. So I have the second mark on the harmonic balancer marked right at 316 on the balancer. This balancer is nice because it has markings on it. If you have a stock balancer, you're gonna have to get creative and just find the middle ground of the two marks that you put on the balancer. So that kind of leads me to the next part of finding top dead center. So we made those two marks on the balancer. You can see the mark right at the pointer and the mark up there above the pointer. So the middle point between these 2 points will be top dead center for the number one cylinder. So I'm going to count the marks and find the difference and find the middle between these two, and I'll show you guys what it ends up being. Okay, so I found the middle point between the two marks that I made on the balancer, and it ended up being 332.5. So right there in that middle mark on the balancer is top dead center for the number one cylinder in relation to the pointer that I have attached here. So the next thing that you do is you remove the piston stop, which I've already done, and reinstall your spark plug, which I have done. I just need to tighten it up a little bit. So another thing is you don't have to make these spark plugs hero tight. You just get them snug in the head. If you try to tighten up the spark plug too tight in these aluminum heads, it's gonna mess the threads up. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to install the coil and the spark plug wire. So I got my coil with the boot removed, and I have my parts store spark plug wire. So I'll connect my coil to one end of the wire. I had to modify this boot just a little bit. I had to cut like maybe a 1/4 inch off to get it to fit, and the same for this. So then I just connect this to the spark plug down in the hole. And connect my coil to my harness. So once the coil and the spark plug wire are hooked up, the next thing is to get the timing light. So the timing light's pretty simple to set up. It's got 3 connections. So you have, this thing's fighting me. You have your ground, your power, and the signal. So the signal is going to go right over the spark plug wire, just like that. It's pretty simple. Next, I connect the power up here at the alternator and find somewhere for a ground. I ground it over here. Alright, so the next part will be on the laptop. Okay, so I'm in the car now and I have my tune pulled up. I hate these stupid messages. So I have the tune pulled up on the Holley V4 software. So the first thing that I want to do, because I'm going to do a static timing check, is I want to disable my idle spark. So what the idle spark does is it moves your timing around to keep the engine idling smoothly. And you don't want that whenever you're trying to check your static timing, because you don't want the timing to move around. You want it to stay at one timing number. So I'm going to disable that. And then you also want to make sure that if you have any other modifiers that modify spark, that you disable them as well, which I don't. I think the only one I have would be air temp, and it's like over 150 degrees, so it's not gonna be a factor here at idle. So disable that, and then I'll show you guys the ignition parameters. So with my motors, there is a setting on the ignition type right here, the 4-valve, 2-valve, 4.6, and 5.4 cop, but I don't think anyone uses that. Everyone uses the custom. There's a reason for it. I don't remember the exact reason. I know that the cylinder firing order is moved around over here. And then when you have the custom ignition type, you can configure stuff in it. So I've already adjusted my inductive delay, but I'm doing it again to show you guys how to do it. So my tune, since I've had the Holley, has been this. It's been what you see here, and then my inductive delay has been set at 1.0. So I know several people that have had issues with the inductive delay being set low, and the computer pulls timing as the RPM rises, which is not what you want, because then you don't have the timing that is in your timing table. So it's at 1 for testing purposes right now, and I'm going to send this to the ECU. Send the ECU. Yeah, I gotta cycle the ignition power on and off. Got it. Alright, so that's sent to the ECU. Cycle the power off. Cycle the power back on. Alright, so I'm going to start the car. I'm going to get it warmed up where it'll actually idle decent, and then we will go to the static timing check. Alright, so the car is somewhat warmed up and idling, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to establish communication with the ECU and the laptop by clicking USB link. Alright, so now the laptop is live with the ECU in the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to enable a static timing check. To do that, I go over here to the Sync with ECU drop down, and I click Enable Static Timing Check and set whatever number I want. I like 23 degrees. So we'll set that at 23. Alright, so the static timing is at 23, so the timing should not move. It should stay at 23 degrees. So the next part of this check is going to be outside the car. Okay, so I'm out here at the timing light, and what I did is I set the static timing in the car at 23 degrees, so I have to turn this light to 23 degrees. So I'm back in the car after we did the static timing check, and it looked like the timing is synchronized as far as static timing goes. So whatever I'm commanding on the ECU is what the timing is in the engine. Now what you would do if it wasn't is you would go into your, where we were at before in the ignition parameters. You would go to configure and you would do a timing offset. So if it was advanced 2 degrees, you would retard 2 degrees here, and vice versa, so that you got that mark on the harmonic balancer to line up with the pointer. It's not really an issue on the mod motor because it's a keyed crankshaft, but I know LS cars sometimes with the pressed on reluctor wheel can be off time sometimes. So it's more important that you do this on an LS car. Not so much on the mod motor, but it's still something that has to be checked. And if someone knows better than me, then you can correct me. But as far as I know, since there's a keyway on the crank, that the timing should be right. Now here's the part, the main reason why I am checking my timing. Inductive delay. So it was probably hard to see on the video, but the timing was still moving around some even at idle. And I have all my modifiers turned off. So I know my inductive delay is not right. Also, the way to check inductive delay is you do what I was just doing with the timing light, and you rev the engine up to like 3, 4, 5,000 RPM, and you hold it there, and you watch and you see if the timing advances or retards. And if it's retarding, then you turn this number up. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to rev the engine up 3,000, 4,000 RPM, and I'm going to watch what that mark does in relation to the pointer, and adjust the inductive delay from there. Okay, so as you can see in the last video, I did the free rev check with the to see what the timing was doing, and it was moving. So what I need to do is I need to adjust in my ignition settings, I need to adjust my inductive delay. So from what I've read on the internet, people say to do it in 50 USEC at a time. So I'm going to adjust it 50 at a time until I get to where the timing does not move as I rev the car up. And I also want to ensure that I don't go too high on here, because what that can do is it can make the timing advance as the RPM climbs. So I'm not going to video all of the checks, but I'm going to do this without the camera on until I get a setting on here that keeps the timing steady on the pointer as I rev the engine. And I will show you guys what I come up with. No, you're fine. Okay, so I went out and did the free rev test a couple of times, holding the RPMs at 3,000 to 4,000, I think 5,000 a couple of times. And I watched the timing, and the inductive delay setting that worked best for my car was a setting of 100. It kept the timing steady on the pointer and the balancer. The timing didn't advance or retard in the higher RPMs. So that's the number that I'm going to go with. It's important that you do this test and you don't just plug a number in right here, because each car is going to be different. So if you plug this number in and it's too high on your application, then I mean you could be advancing your timing in higher RPMs, which is a lot worse than if it was retarding. You could hurt the engine and what have you. So once you get this setting dialed in, you want to remember to turn your idle spark back on. And if you had any other modifiers that you had to change to do this test, make sure you turn them back on. And I'm not 100%. When you enable the static timing check, this stuff might not be taken into account. I can't remember what I read, but I like to turn it off anyways, and then enable the static timing check over here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them and help you guys out. I know there's a few of my friends out there. Eddie, I know you wanted me to do a video on this, so let me know. Let me know if it explains it. if it explains it good enough. If not, then I'll try and help you guys out with whatever I can. So that's all I have for now. I'll talk to you guys later.